Hey, what's up? James here. I want to go ahead and give an update on Bitcoin, kind of what I see going on right now. Today's January 4th, and there's a lot of exciting things to happen. We can see some of these daily candles here turning green, right? And then this is a bullish sign right here. We have kind of a, I guess you would, this may end up turning into a hammer candle if it turns green, which I think it will by the end of the day. So I'm going to kind of do an overview, kind of show you again what I see. Let me get rid of this here. All right, so this is the one-day candlesticks. I'm going to change over to the 1 hour, and let's look at this. Okay. So kind of with some of the guys I've been talking, to and hanging out with, this is kind of what we are seeing in Bitcoin. All right, so obviously we had this big spike up to 20,000, had this big correction. One of the things you want to look for whenever you see a coin that corrects like this is you want to see it break out of downtrending resistance is on like a bigger time frame. 1 hour is a good time frame, 1 day, things like that. That's a really good sign. So what I'm going to do is draw this line, except we could draw it here right across the wicks, which would make sense. But this would even make sense here too. So this is a little bit more confluence here because I'll show you why. Let me change this to red. So I usually draw red lines for resistance lines, okay? You can see these tops here. This line seems to touch a lot of these tops here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Seems like it makes a little bit more sense, all right? Then what I'm gonna do is draw the support line. So I'll draw it like this. And again here, kind of same type of thing. Maybe draw it right there, all right? And I did go over some of this in yesterday's video, or maybe it was 2 days ago I did this video, but I'm gonna go over it again. So kind of this correction, what we think could, what I believe really happened with Bitcoin is this. We had a big ABCD correction. So we had an A, we had a B, C, D, and E, okay? So that is a very, let's see, what color do I want to do? Let's make this yellow. Okay, so that is a correction. That's a type of correction, an ABCDE correction. And then what we have coming out of this is now a new market structure, new Elliot Wave market structure, which ever since I've been trading Bitcoin in June, it's followed perfect Elliot Wave structures, and I think it's going to continue to do the same thing. And I think we even have kind of a breakout here today, but this is kind of what I see with that's going to be playing out. All right, so we had this 1, we had this 2, and then we have a 3 coming up here. We'll have a 4, and then we'll have a 5. Obviously, these targets are not correct yet. Let's kind of go through that as well. All right, so that's kind of what we're seeing. I'm going to take this off for a minute. Now, so like if you're playing margin or you're trading Bitcoin on margin or anything like that, this obviously would have been a good spot to buy. I actually had some ladder buys through here, so I am actually trading this on margin. I had a couple buys through this zone, all right? So I got a good average on this too. And the reason I did that is because I'm pretty confident that this is the 1 and the 2, and we still have a 3, 4, 5 to paint, all right? So you can make some pretty good money on margin or just trading Bitcoin normally. If you have some cash you can throw into Bitcoin, it's probably a good zone to buy in. But if I wanted to get some targets, if I had to kind of try to figure out where I think that this is gonna go, I just draw my Fibonacci lines from the top to the bottom, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is kind of pay attention to how far these could go up. It could go up to the 1.618 or the 2.272. It could even go up to any of these extension lines here. The third wave in cryptocurrency, especially lately, seems like it is very impulsive, and a lot of times the third wave in Elliott Wave theory is the longest, okay? The third wave cannot be the shortest. It doesn't have to be the longest, but a lot of times it is. So a lot of times we find the third wave going to this 2.618 or even this 3.618. I really, and it's hard to say. I'm not going to call the top on the third wave. I'm not going to say where it's going to go. But what we're looking for is really just being aware of where it could go, right? That's kind of how I trade. It's not necessarily that I have to nail every single target and find the exact price it's going to land on. For me, that's not really what it's about, but it's about being aware of zones, okay? And if I can be aware of zones and I can buy, let's say that I can buy right you know, if I know that I can buy right here, right? And then I know that the next zone that it's probably going to hit is either here or up here, right? Then I can be ready to sell in these zones, right? I don't have to be exact. I just have ideas of where I can sell. And then once it passes, so here's kind of how I'm going to play this, all right? Let me kind of slow down and break this down for you, all right? Because I have started trading margin on Bitcoin in the last 1 to 2 months, and I've done pretty well. And the reason why is because I've been trading Elliot Wave theory on margin, right? So it's just understanding these zones, okay? So what I would say is that let's just paint these waves out again, all right? So we're gonna have a 1. We just had a 1 and a 2. I believe what we're painting now is the 3. Okay, and so I believe that this wave is going to come at least to the 1.618, maybe even the 2.272 or the 2.618. All right, but regardless, okay, regardless, here's what's going to happen: is you're going to have some kind of a structure like this. This 4 may come down and test the zone of the 1, and then you have it going back up, and maybe this thing goes to 20,000. If it keeps going up, man, this thing could go to 22,000. But regardless, it kind of depends what happens on this third wave. Now, here's kind of how I trade this, just so you guys, if you're trading, this is a really good way to do it. So this is something that's worked for me. I'm not saying it's what everybody has to do or everybody does do. Obviously, there's all kinds of different strategies out there. But what I like to do is, as I'm trading this, I'm already in profit on my margin trade, right? I've got a really good average there. I'm going to be writing this up. Now, when this third wave gets to this 1.272 line, right? Once it crosses this 1.272 line, and I know that it's gotten past this extension, what I will do is I will come here and I will put I'll put a stop loss, okay, right underneath this extension line, okay? So as the price gets above this zone, I'll put a stop loss right there. If the price keeps going up and it goes above, it crosses this 1.618, then what I'll do is I will move my stop loss. Let's get rid of this. I will move my stop loss to this zone, right? So now I have a stop right underneath these extension lines. And if Bitcoin goes crazy and it wants to run up here on the third wave, okay, then what I'll do is I'll just take my stop off there and I'll put another stop loss right underneath, right underneath this zone, or if it crosses that, I'll put it right underneath this zone. Okay, that's kind of how I trade using Fibonacci and Elliott Wave theory. Again, we don't always know exactly where the third wave is going to go to, whether it's the 2.618. It could even go to the 3.618. Okay, we're seeing that a lot, especially with altcoins. So this is kind of how I'm playing this. I'm watching these extensions in price. That's a big deal for me. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. Regardless, if this thing gets up to, this thing could get up to the 2.618. That's $19,900. That would actually come up and test the previous high. I don't think it's going to break all the way through right then. If I had to guess, again, I'm not calling this exactly, but if I had to guess, I don't think the 3-wave is going to break all the way through the previous high. I kind of see this happening as coming up to test the previous high and then rejecting off that, coming down to test this number 1 spot. Maybe it'll come down to $15,000 to $17,000 somewhere in here. All right, and then on this 5th leg, I do believe we're gonna break through that all-time high and maybe come as high as 23,000, maybe up here to 24,000, somewhere in that zone. Obviously, these numbers could be a little bit different. I mean, we could get this 5 that could go all the way up to 30,000, and then there would be a correction. But that's kind of how I'm playing this. Again, I'm not someone who, I'm just not someone who's been able to call the tops on all of these waves. We have ideas, but what I like to do is get really good entries in the right zones. And then as the price moves up and we get into profit, I lock in profit, right? And then ride it up as high as I can and just keep moving my stop up. And that's how, like some of these altcoins, we've been able to make 100%, 200% just in the last few weeks. A lot of these altcoins are starting new market cycles. I do feel like with this happening right now. And even if we zoom in on this, let's get rid of some of this so we can get a more clear picture. Get rid of these zones here. Even on the 1 hour chart, if we look at what's happening literally right now in Bitcoin, is we had this 1 and 2, and now we're starting this 3 wave up. And it's going to be, I believe it's really going to pop once we see this resistance line broken. So I'm using a Bitfinex chart because they have a lot of volume on Bitcoin. But once we see this resistance line broken, I think we're going to see a lot. I would be willing to bet there's a lot of retail traders, a lot of traders in general that have buy orders above this resistance line. So what will happen is once Bitcoin crosses this resistance line, a lot of people will see that breakout. There's a lot of people that buy breakouts, right? So when it crosses this resistance line, it's, you know, obviously people will consider that a breakout, and we'll see a surge in volume come in of people that are buying Bitcoin, which will cause this expansive and impulsive third wave, right? But I like to trade a little bit different. I like to trade according to Elliott Wave theory because it allows me to get amazing buy spots, right? I end up finding really good spots to get in. And so this is a really good zone because this is the 2. I believe we're starting the 3. Again, other people may have different opinions on this, but this is kind of what I see and how I am trading it. And again, just following this pattern, I'm already in profit on margin. I can lock in a break-even stop at least, and at least not lose money, right? Which is half the game when you're trading. So anyways, guys, just wanted to come live, give you an update, and hope this helps. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Peace.